Hi, welcome to another tutorial. Now in this tutorial we are going to talk about prime numbers and its application in calculating the lowest common multiple and the highest common factor. Before we go into an example, let's look at what we mean by prime numbers. Now prime numbers are numbers whose factors are only 1 and itself. Now what do we mean by that? Say for example number 2. The factors of number 2 is 1 and 2. What about 3? Factors of 3 are 1 and 3. What about factors of 4? Factors of 4 can be 1 and 4, but notice here 4 is 2 times 2. So the factors of 4 are actually 1, 2 and 4. So that's what makes 4 a non-prime number, because the factors is not just 1 and itself, which is 4, but it's also 2. Whereas for the case of 2 and 3, the factors are either 1 or itself. In the case of 2, it's only 1 and 2, and in the case of 3, it's only 1 and 3. Another quick example would be 5. In which case the factors are just 1 and 5. Okay, so that's what makes these numbers prime numbers. Now let's look into an example of using prime numbers for calculating lowest common multiple and highest common factor. Let's say someone asks us to find or express numbers such as 90, 100 and let's say 140 as multiples of prime numbers. Now in this case 90, if we would like to express 90 could be expressed as 30 times 3. Now 30 can be expressed as 10 times 3, and we can leave the other times 3 as it is. Now what about 10? 10 could be expressed as 5 times 2, and we can leave the other two numbers, which is 3 times 3, as 3 squared. So we can see that at this stage each of these number is a prime number. 5, 2 and 3 are all prime numbers. So we have just expressed the number 90 as multiples of prime numbers. Now let's have a look at number 100. 100 can be easily expressed as 50 times 2. Then 50 could be expressed as 25 times 2, and then we can leave the other times 2 as it is. Now 25, how about 25? 25 can be expressed as 5 times 5, and we can leave the other two as they are, which is 2 times 2. Now notice 5 times 5 can be expressed as 5 squared, and 2 times 2 can be expressed as 2 squared. Now once again we've expressed 100 in terms of two prime numbers, which is 5 and 2. Now let's look at our last number, which is 140. We can express that as 70 times 2, but 70 could be expressed as 35 times 2, in which case we can leave the other times 2 as it is. In the next stage, we could express number 35 as 5 times 7, and we can leave the other two numbers as they are, which is 2 times 2. Now notice, in this case we can express 2 times 2 as 2 squared, so our full expression becomes 5 times 7 times 2 squared. Once again, 140 is now expressed as multiples of, in terms of prime numbers, which is 2, 5 and 7. Now that we have expressed all the numbers in terms of prime numbers, let's look at how we use these prime numbers to find the lowest common multiple or the highest common factor. To find the lowest common multiple, what we need to do is, for lowest common multiple, what we need to do for the lowest common multiple is we need to find the number within these prime numbers which is the lowest, and that number must also go for all 3 numbers that we have here. So for the first one, we have 5 times 2 times 3 squared. For the second one, we have 5 times 2 squared. And for the last one, we have 5 times 7 times 2 squared. Now, first of all, we see 2 things here. We see 5 is a common in all 3 cases. What we also see is 2 is also common in all 3 cases. Now, definitely 2 is lower than 5, so if anything, 2 would be the lowest common multiple. But there's one more thing we need to take into account, and that is we have 2 and we have 2 squared. Our lowest common multiple will only be the lowest of these values, which is, in this case, just the 2. So our lowest common multiple is 2, and that's how we find the lowest common multiple. For the highest common factor, what we need to do is we need to multiply all the prime numbers that are common between all 3 results. Now let's have a look at this example. We have 5 for the first box of the first answer. In other words, for the factors of 90, we had 5, we had 2, and we had 3 squared. Now for the second one, which is 100, let's get rid of some of these markers. So for 100, we had 5 squared and we had 2 squared. And for 140, we had 5, we had 7 and 2 squared. So what we need to do is we need to see what's the common number of each type of numbers. So what does it mean? We have 5. We have 5 squared and we have 5. Now, we do not multiply 2 5s from here, 1 5 from here, and 1 5 from here. We only multiply, or we only take the highest number. In this case, the highest number is 5 squared. So of these 3 numbers, to calculate the highest common factor, we only take the highest of the 3. So let's scroll down and let's calculate for highest common factor. We have 5 squared times, let's look at the second number. What else do we have available? We have 2 squared. Let's get rid of the box from 5 squared. And we also have another 2 squared. Now we only take the highest of these 3 values, which is only 2 squared. So in our calculation for highest common factor, we add or we multiply with another 2 squared. What else do we have? What we also have is, we have taken care of 2 now. What we also have is we have a 3 squared. We do not have any 3 squared for the second one, and we do not have one for the third one either. So we will take the 3 squared. What else do we have? So we see that we have taken all the numbers from the first one. There is nothing else left. Nothing from the second one left. On the third one we have a 7 left, which we didn't take into account, and now we shall take that into account in our highest common factor calculation. So this is our highest common factor, and the result of that would be 25 times 4 times 9 times 7. Let's use a calculator to calculate the value of that. If we do 25 times 4 times 9 times 7, we get 6,300, and that is the highest common factor of 90, 100 and 140. Well guys, I hope this was helpful, and I hope to see you in the next tutorial.